This is RFD Today, a daily look at the key topics impacting rural Illinois. If you live in Illinois, we examine the issues impacting you, your income, and your community. Here's your host for today's program, Bill Oshanke.
And good Thursday to you, Illinois. Thanks for joining us for this adventure in broadcasting on the 4th of April. And, boy, waking to more clouds, just sprinkles in this case, but what kind of rainfall are we going to have? And it has that feel of a couple days' worth of soakers. Rain in the forecast, at least in this area, in the afternoon, and then brings some along, past midnight, so into Friday, plenty to come over the weekend as well, Sunday into Monday. So more rain, and hey, what do you know, there's rain in the forecast for about a week from now as well. We will talk about what seems like, I just said it was the 4th of April, it's not that late, but we'll talk about field work, spring planting, and also some things to keep in mind, especially from weed management standpoint. We'll talk to Eric Ift at Bayer Crop Science later in the program. Also in the show, we'll visit with Kelly Estes, our pest survey coordinator in Illinois, putting traps out and about. And, hey, remember how cold it was in January? Well, I'm guessing we didn't freeze everything by any means. She's starting to see some results already from some of the work being done. What could we expect, if anything, for later in the growing season? From an insect standpoint, we'll also visit with Jenny Jackson at Illinois Pork Producers. Some pork producers have been in D.C. recently. We'll hear from Jenny later in the program. We'll get into all that on a Thursday RFD Today. First, Rita has a moment with folks at Pioneer.
Scott Eversgerd joins us. He is a field agronomist with Pioneer. He's based in Nashville. He farms in Clinton County with his brothers as well. And Scott, as we talk about all of these things, this applies to you and your family. Do you guys have wheat, and what does it look like?
The wheat crop overall is actually we got about 3 different stages of the wheat crop. We had some wheat that was planted that the last few days, September, first week of October. Looks really good. Exceptionally high yield potential. A lot of that now has the nitrogen on it, or at least a good shot of nitrogen on it. Looking really good. We have a second planting kind of after that, came about the second week of October. That wheat is really snapped out of it. Stand counts are good, tiller counts are good, it's growing. That wheat looking good, probably not as good as that first part, but looking better every day. And then the last part of the wheat crop that got planted toward the end of October, about the 15th to the 22nd. And it rained shortly after that, and then the cold temperatures came. A lot of that wheat we really didn't even see till December, and some of that even into January. So a lot of those fields are suspect with thin stands and just not probably going to survive and end up destroying some of those fields.
We heard official estimates and we've heard guesstimates on, how many more acres of wheat went in southern Illinois. What's your guess on that number?
I think we were about flat on acres, maybe slightly up, but, if guys really didn't push it pretty hard there in the 1st of October, the weather turned south pretty quick on us. And, so if a guy really wasn't on top of it and wanting to plant a lot of wheat and getting that early start, weather just wasn't conducive to allow that extra 5, 10, 15% of acres that can typically come at the latter part of the planting season.
So, Scott, we have 2 minutes remaining here for us today. Your customers, do they have the seed? What's your best advice and your take-home as we start this month of April?
From a seed standpoint, everything's looking good. Obviously, a lot of corn seed being delivered now. I think growers are excited. Soybeans, of course, we got the different technologies out there, but overall, I would tell growers, really watch their bag tags on germination on soybean. It's been an issue for the entire industry. So really watch your tags and watch your germs. And if there are any lower germs out there, you may have to adjust your seeding rates accordingly. But overall, I think supply, we're in decent shape. We just don't want to get into a bad replant scenario either.
So with you and your brothers, how many planting seasons does this make for you? And do you still get kind of pumped up this time of year?
Oh, yeah. So the three of us, we'll be heading into our 16th year. And, yeah, I mean, all that optimism comes back over the winter. And you get the tractors ready, and you're ready to go to the field with optimistically thinking you're going to grow the best crop ever. I guess that's the neat thing about being a farmer.
For sure. Thank you so much. Great information. We look forward to talking to you later in the growing season. Pioneer Field agronomist based in Nashville, Scott Eversgerd, will break for more markets and weather.
All right, thanks, Rita. Well, this is RFD Today. We're visiting now over the phone with Kelly Estes, our state pest survey coordinator. How are you?
I'm good.
So this busy time of year for you, are you putting traps? Are the traps already out? What's going on?
It's getting to be a bit crazy, yes. I put a few traps out. It's a little chilly yet, but as things start to warm up, I wanted to make sure I had a few out and ready, and we are getting traps shipped out to our cooperators, and we'll be ready to roll again next week.
Do you need more cooperators? Do you have enough traps already, or do you need more people to take a few?
That's a good question. We put a bulletin article out earlier in the week, and the responses have been quite overwhelming. So I'm literally sorting through, I think, 30 and 40 emails and seeing where everything is placed, and then I think I'll probably come back and try to fill some gaps from different areas of the state if I can.
That's nice that you have that number of volunteers. But I could also see where people would really want to know, especially on their own farm and not just anecdotal in the area either.
Exactly. I mean, it's really a good problem to have, and the growers across Illinois are always so good to me with helping out with different projects that myself and other people here on campus have. And it's nice to have a little representation from around the state, and even if it's not directly in their backyard, it can give them an idea of what's going on in their general area.
Sure. Yeah, especially if and even better if you have year after year, so you can do a lot of comparative results that way. Now, if I'm cooperating to have traps, do I have my own responsibilities throughout the year with those, or what all is entailed if one of the traps is in one of my fields?
Well, luckily we currently have a grant that provides traps and lures for our cooperators to get those out around the state. And what I ask for my cooperators is that we get those traps placed, number one, and number two, that we would like them checked at least 3 times a week so we can get current numbers as we go throughout the spring and summer. And then thirdly, you have those numbers, but I need those numbers. So we partner with a national website, and we have a website they can enter to from their computer or through an app, or, if you don't want to do that, you can send them directly to me, and I have some great interns that help me out and get those uploaded on a weekly basis. And then we take them and create maps, update the numbers, and get that information sent back out to our growers in Illinois.
Gotcha. I wondered about that because there's no way you can check them all yourself, and surely you can't have enough interns to check them all during the summer. So that's part of the deal is you help set them up and you keep count as well. Correct.
And so with the different surveys I do, part of what I do is detection surveys, and we're at those locations every week or every other week. But in terms of monitoring surveys, those we really would like looked at multiple times a week, because those numbers you want to keep current so you know what insects are coming in to your area, and then we can use degree days or those numbers to predict when, for black cutworm, when cutting may be occurring, or with corn earworm, when egg laying and larvae may be present as well.
It'd be pretty interesting to see how variable that is, especially in dates and in different parts of the state. How much of that happens at the same time, and then how spread out things might actually be.
Very true. I think I saw this morning on Twitter they were looking at, basically leaf emergence in trees as it's moving from the southern U.S. to the north, and predicting when we're going to get bud break and things like that. Insects, in a way, those that are migrating, that isn't necessarily the case. Black cutworm, those moths come on wind currents, on jet streams, and they drop out of that at random places. So I could have nothing in southern Illinois and have a bunch drop in central Illinois.
Wow.
And so that's very variable. But for insects that are overwintering here and are dependent on temperatures warming up as they develop, we get, traditionally it's going to warm up in southern Illinois first, so we're going to see things happen there first, and then central Illinois and northern Illinois, it's very low on degree days right now. It could be a while before we see insect issues up there.
Yeah. Well, we froze them all anyway over the winter, over January, so I don't see why we have to go through all this in the first place, right?
Well, we probably froze a few, but there's, we're still going to have some this summer.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's too bad.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, we were talking about that sort of thing when it was awfully cold, and they'll figure a way to survive and show themselves again. So only a matter of time before that takes place. But yeah, it would be nice. It is nice that in some cases you get predictors from throughout the state, and if you, as you're going through emails, you think in a couple of weeks you'll start to have things out. I mean, it's, as cool as it is, you probably don't need anything out too terribly soon.
No, my plan right now is to start shipping to cooperators next week and really getting our black cutworm and true armyworm traps out. Even if there's not a lot of activity, it'd be nice to have them out there so that we are ready when we have those first flights coming. And things are going to warm up this weekend, but cool off again next week.
Right. Kelly Estes, stay tuned. We have more to come with Kelly on RFD today.
Farm Week and FarmWeekNow.com journalist Kay Shipman connects rural routes for you. For 3 decades, Kay has delivered important news. She covers everything from legislative issues to the latest in soil and water conservation. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I love covering so many aspects of agriculture and providing readers with the facts they need to make better decisions. I also get to work with farmers and meet new people along the way.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Clean water matters to all of us. For years, farmers have been calling for clean water and clear rules because we know it's possible to have both. Now is the time to make your voice heard. The proposed clean water rule announced by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Army Corps would end years of uncertainty over where federal jurisdiction begins and ends. Support the new rule. Text WATERS to 52886. That's WATERS to 52886. And contact your local county farm bureau for more information.
You're going to need me.
You're going to need us.
All of us.
You're going to need our technical skills,
our math, our engineering skills.
You're going to need our help with your water, your air, your food.
You're going to need our organizational skills, our problem-solving skills.
You're going to need our determination, our honesty, our compassion.
You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring.
And we promise, we'll be there when you need us.
Today, 4-H is growing the next generation of leaders. Support us at 4h.org.
It's a bully, but we aren't afraid of a fight. It's elusive, but our focus never fades. It's deadly, but we were born to defeat cancer. You may not have heard of us, but our work has helped millions impacted by cancer. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We are leaders in advancing breakthroughs in immunotherapy, genomics, and personalized medicine. This research saves lives. After 65 years of fighting blood cancers, we've arrived at a game-changing belief. The cures for cancer are in our blood. The drugs and treatments we've developed for blood cancers have helped people affected by many different types of cancers. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Beating cancer is in our blood. Learn more at lls.org.
Welcome back to RFD Today. On Thursday, I'm DeLoss Yawkey with Kelly Estes, our state pest survey coordinator. So what you were talking about, black cutworms and armyworms, is that right?
Yep, those are our two migratory insects that we're going to monitor this spring, so we can keep track of flights as they make their way into the state.
What about Japanese beetles? Are they later, or surely people are going to be keeping their eyes, and just how many there are going to be this year?
Those are generally later, and actually I do have interest in trapping for them as well. The thing with Japanese beetle traps is you can use them to detect when they're emerging, but once they emerge, you kind of want to pull those traps because it's a congregation pheromone that we use for them, so then you just start attracting all of the Japanese beetles in the neighborhood to your area. So while traps are good, I generally just keep an eye on my grapes and my roses, and that's usually my good indicator when Japanese beetles are emerging.
So you want to know when they've emerged, but by the way you test them, you don't want to bring them all to one field or one specific area.
Right. We get a lot of questions from homeowners about using those homeowner Japanese beetle traps, and you'll see a lot of them as you go through neighborhoods. And quite honestly, if you want to protect your yard, the best thing that you could have is have your neighbor have one, because that should pull at least some of them out of your yard to the neighbor's yard. So that's our little etymological joke that we discuss, and just have your neighbor buy the Japanese beetle trap and you're good.
Wow. Yeah, let somebody else, let someone else attract all of them. But if we track them all to one certain place, then we can, we can grab them all, and that would be that, right?
Theoretically, unfortunately with Japanese beetles, the numbers are so great, it's really hard to do that. But we do, you will see in some insects, a lot of research is being done with the use of trap crops that, draw insects away from the crop and into that trap crop, and you sacrifice one for the benefit of the other. Not a huge thing when we have our big-scale corn and soybean farms, but we do see that some on the fruit and vegetable side, mm-hmm. and in smaller organic areas.
When you're compiling all this data, do you also keep track of, are we talking about continuous corn or even continuous soybeans or rotation, that sort of thing? I mean, does that help with the kind of data that you're accumulating?
It does help some. We don't always do a really good job doing that. I'll readily admit it is something that we continue to talk about, particularly when we do our statewide survey. In later summer, that's one thing we want to add. Are we in corn on corn after soybeans, when we start looking at rootworm beetle surveys? One thing I am getting more interest in response for our monitoring networks is we have a lot of non-GMO growers that are wanting to do some trapping, and because we're seeing a lot more injury with earworm and corn borer in those areas. So we do want to try to keep track of the populations of those insects as well.
Gotcha. Well, pretty soon we'll be full speed ahead on these things. Anything in particular and this doesn't even have to be in farm fields, but even in trees or any other kind of, whether it's a borer or any other kind of nuisance that you've been either keeping an eye on or having a certain thought about for 2019?
We continue to get reports of emerald ash borer. Northern Illinois has been dealing with it for quite some time, and we're starting to see more infestations in the southern part of the state where they're being noticed for the first time. Our biggest invasive that we are looking at that we do not currently have here, or it's not known to be here, and you and I have talked about it before, is spotted lanternfly, which is present out in the Northeast, and we're looking at keeping an eye on different crops and pathways where that could get introduced to Illinois as well.
Gotcha. How about ants? Got any ants you're dealing with by any chance yet?
We include fire ants on our most unwanted list just because of some reports just to the south of Illinois. We're somewhat monitoring the potential for that to move up, but that's a pretty remote chance. But that's pretty much the only ant that I'm dealing with.
If you have any ant traps you want to just send to my house, I would be more than happy to take them. Do
you have ant problems?
I don't want to say it out loud because I think I might have actually solved it, but I'm sure they'll be back in just a couple of days again, and especially as it gets warmer. So, hey, for more information, you can always follow Kelly on the Twitter at ILPestSurvey. Meeting time's over, right? So no more conferences or slideshows, but it's time to actually do the collecting, right?
You would think, but no, I have a couple more meetings here in April. We have our state plant analysis of risk committee meeting with USDA next week. I'm doing a Four Seasons webinar for extension on invasives here at the end of the month, so you can go to the University of Illinois website if you're interested in hearing more about that. But working on both now, meetings and field work. So
nice. That's a winning combination. Thanks, thanks, Kelly. Good to visit with you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kelly Estes on Twitter, IL Pest Survey, our state ag pest survey coordinator. More to come on RFD today.
More farm news and information ahead. Stay tuned for more RFD Today here on the Illinois Farm Bureau Radio Network.
Hi, this is Sabrina Hardy, RFD Business Manager. I want to thank you for listening to the RFD Radio Network, the #1 ag radio network in Illinois. Did you know RFD Radio Network's programming is being broadcast by Rita Frazier and Delosh Yankee with a combined 50 years of broadcasting experience? Join us daily. If you have any questions, email me at chardy@ilfb.org.
Attention corn farmers. Your corn checkoff dollars are working with the U.S. Meat Export Federation to grow red meat export volumes. Because when we're exporting beef, we're also exporting corn. The beef industry consumes 28% of all corn fed to livestock, plus additional corn in the form of DDGs, a co-product of ethanol production. Now that's what we call working an angle. Your checkoff is working corn from all angles. Because of the Illinois Corn Marketing Board, your profitability is our bottom line. A message from the Illinois Corn Checkoff.
RFD Radio Network's Rita Frazier connects rural routes for you. Rita delivers passion and reliable information to listeners on the RFD Radio Network. Her radio career spans close to 3 decades. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I grew up on a small farm. My job today allows me to connect with people from all walks of life and experience opportunity every day. I get to talk about what I love, farming.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Warmer weather means a longer honeydew list. Your county farm bureau can help you stay on top of your project list and save you money along the way. A Farm Bureau membership offer includes discounts on equipment and supplies from Grainger, plus free shipping on all standard Grainger products. Browse thousands of items from landscaping equipment to power tools. Anything you need to get the job done, Grainger has it. Not a Farm Bureau member? Call us at 309-557-2689 or visit Illinois Farm Bureau online and join today.
Yes, I listen to a lot of talk radio, but I wouldn't call myself a political junkie. I guess that's why I like being a member of the Illinois Farm Bureau. No matter what my comfort level is, Farm Bureau has something for me and my farm. As an Illinois Farm Bureau member, I can pick and choose what's best for me, from reading election news and Farm Week to actually going to Washington. That's enough to make me a policy nut after all.
Call your county farm bureau and customize your membership today.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
Well, joining us in studio now, we're pleased to have Eric If, at Bear Crop Science joining us. Not only is Eric at Bear Crop Science, he's also chair of Illinois CCA's Certified Crop Advisors for a 2-year term. So thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
You betcha. Glad to be here.
You know, it's still first week of April. You know, we don't want to overreact by any means, but you also see the forecasts, and it seems like soaking rains just keep on coming. So we're not late yet, but seems like we could get late pretty soon, couldn't we?
Yeah, it seems like it's later than it is because of all the work we didn't get done last fall. So everything we wanted to get done last fall has to be done this spring. So I think that pressure's kind of hanging over us as well. But certainly you're right. We're not late yet, but it could potentially get to that.
You know, last year we thought we were late, and we planted 70% of the corn in 3 weeks. So it could happen, but it just feels a little different this year, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's been cool. It's been wet. Nothing's moving. So, yeah, it feels a little bit that way. But like you, I am constantly amazed at how much work can get done in a compact time in a spring.
My assumption is you'd rather plant dry and get rain later as opposed to dealing with so much soaked soil and sometimes saturated soils than what we're dealing with. So already we seem like we're not quite ideal.
Yeah, I would much rather be that way. However, I do remember a few springs where we planted in the dust and then the rain didn't come and the stands weren't there. So I do kind of like it that the tiles are charged and we do have good subsoil moisture there in case we get a little bit later June and July. At least we're going in charged. So I guess you can look at it both ways.
Right. Like you mentioned, we didn't get a whole lot done. My fear is, and some people may do this anyway, but just the notion of 100% post when it comes to weed management. I mean, we still had the winter annuals, and certainly the spring is getting closer and closer and things we have to contend with. So how are we going to balance all of this?
Right. Well, you know, winter annuals are always a concern, and I've been driving around here a lot lately looking for those purple fields that are solid with henbit. I don't see really bad henbit today, but certainly those winter annuals can come on. We didn't really have the time to get the fall-applied herbicides applications made like we normally do in the fall. One kind of watch out that I tell the guys that are battling winter annuals, the strip tillers or the no-tillers, is make sure you allow plenty of time after that burn down application for that mat of weeds to dry down, because the root systems and all that mat of drying plant material will cause that soil to stay wetter, and you certainly do not want to plant when it's too wet out there.
Is there a number there? It's like 72 hours, or is it field by field? Or
it's field by field, condition by condition. Temperature makes a difference, how many little showers you get on it, things like that. There's nobody better than the Illinois farmer to know when that field is really fit to plant.
Do we go back to the old glyphosate plan of, well, you know, let's just wait for them all to show themselves and then we'll zap them at once and away we go?
Well, with winter annuals, they're already up and out there anyway, so they're already there and all ready to go. We might get into a situation, again, I'm not saying we will, but we might, where even the fellows that use conventional tillage might have some spring weeds growing. So your lamb's quarters, your giant ragweeds, foxtail, things like that. And lots of times I get questions about, you know, concerns about, are those weeds too big for a tillage pass to effectively take out? Should I use a herbicide burn down? And certainly a glyphosate or Roundup is a great choice for that, but you want to wait 48 hours after you make that herbicide application before you go till that soil as well. Give plenty of time for that translocating herbicide to work in the weed. You can switch to more desiccating herbicides like paraquat or glufosinate that will burn that tissue down quicker. Unfortunately, those don't work very well in cool weather, so temperature kind of dictates which way we want to go there.
Wow. A lot to take in, and, you know, we talked several times with other folks, especially weed science guys, about having a plan B and C just in case. For corn this year, another plan could just be, I mean, if we get in the 70s for a while, that corn may just come up right away.
Right.
If corn comes up right away, that could change the way we approach that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I talk about this with guys all the time, is usually there's a planned pre-emergence herbicide application, then we wait till the corn gets V4 to V7, and we put another layer of residual herbicide then to carry us the rest of the way out till the rows are shaded. But sometimes the planters get ahead of the sprayers and the corn's already emerged by the time you get there. So understanding what that label says about tank mix partners, adjuvants. It may be that it's restricted and not allowed to spray on emerged corn. So having that plan A, B, C, and knowing what the plan would be if that corn's emerged is critical.
And emerged means, okay, it's just barely there, right? I mean, it doesn't mean, well, it's not tall enough yet, that sort of thing. I mean, if you can see it, then that's emerged. Depends on the chemistry, you know, how much risk you're taking there, on which class of chemistry it is. But, yes, that's pretty much the rule I go by, is if it's just poking through, then that's emerged. And, you know, we want to give this the best start as possible, so you don't want to do that. I mean, when it's 2 days out of the ground, you certainly don't want to hinder it. That's exactly right. There's great choices. That's a reason for the farmers to have relationships with the retailers, to understand and have those plans in place and be ready to go and be ready to switch plans if Mother Nature throws us a curve. Right. Thinking about soybeans as well. Similar thoughts that I had even for early planting, you know, with this wet soil. Does that give us concerns about fungus and yield robbers down the road? Oh, certainly. We want the soil conditions for beans. They're more forgiving on soil conditions that you plant them in as corn. And I hear a lot of that talk at certain meetings is that, hey, I'm going to crank up with 2 planters now and plant beans at the same time as corn. And I think that's great. I think there's a lot of data that shows the earlier you can plant beans, the higher yielding beans you can get. But you still don't want to be in there in too wet of soils. But, yeah, seed treatments have become very popular for the fungal diseases early. And then really we manage soybeans herbicide-wise like we do corn. A good pre-emergence, multiple site of action herbicide down, followed by a post-application. And, of course, that's dictated today by many of the traits that are out there in the soybeans. Eric Ift, Bayer Crop Science. We'll continue that conversation next on RFD Today.
Farm Week and Partners Magazine editor Chris Anderson connects rural routes for you. Chris shares her 4 decades of riding expertise by making sure each edition delivers the best information. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I was raised on a farm in Champaign County growing corn, soybeans, popcorn, pumpkins, and poultry. My top priority is to inform, educate, and even entertain Farm Bureau members.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
If you're in the mood for some sprucing up, you're in luck. From big to small or farm to front yard, your Illinois Farm Bureau member discount from John Deere is ready and waiting to help. It's easy to think green when it's the Rewards Loyalty Program, with savings on equipment, special parts, and home and workshop products. Whether your tasks involve mowing, planting, or cleaning, you'll be set for whatever your work requires. All you need to do is sign up, have your membership number handy, and go to johndeere.com/Farm Bureau.
Let's check the markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yankee. We're up 2 for nearby corn. We're up 4 for nearby soybeans. May corn up 2, 3.64 3/4. July up 2, 3.74, and December up a penny and a quarter, 3.92. May soybeans up 4 1/4, $9.03. July up 4, 9.16 1/4. November up 3 3/4, 9.35 3/4. July corn at the moment's penny and a quarter off the high, 2 1/4 off the low. July beans are 2 1/4 off the high and a half dozen off the low. May wheat up a half, 4.71 1/2. July unchanged, 4.74 1/2. April hogs unchanged. May up $1.45 to 89.85, and June cattle up 45, 119.45. Los Yankee RFD Radio Network.
40 years of horses, 40 years of legends. It's the Midwest Horse Fair.
Best horse fair in the nation right here.
This is fun for families because there's so many different aspects of horses that they can see.
And there's top-of-the-line clothing and apparel and boots and hats and ropes and trinkets and gifts. Shopping is off the charts here. I hope you guys are ready because it's going to get wild.
It's the great Midwest Horse Fair. April 12th through the 14th at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. Visit MidwestHorseFair.com for more.
All right, welcome back. We will continue our conversation with Eric Ift at Bayer Crop Science as we anticipate spring field work and hopefully soon, eventually, spring planting. Just thinking about what you were saying about, go in pre, go in afterward, and the word residual. I hear the word residual used quite a bit. And, that also goes, I assume, with multiple modes of action.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, really what we need to do today with a weed like water hemp is completely different than what we used to do back in the Roundup era. In the Roundup era, we would put down a setup rate of a herbicide on corn, and then we would let it break and let weeds grow, because Roundup at that time would just kill everything, and we'd just let the weeds grow, and then we'd go out there and we'd take that flush out. Today, with water hemp being resistant, what we really need to do is use overlapping residuals. So you put a multi-site of action residual down. When you come back in to spray post, I want guys calling me saying, why am I spraying post? There are no weeds out here, right?
That'd be nice.
That's exactly what you want. I tell them exactly, you've done it right. So now you're overlapping that residual, because someday I'm going to get this chiseled in stone with my name on it, DeLoss, but I want a stone that says the best water hemp is the one that never emerges from the ground, and have that be a quote from me.
So what you're saying is, don't wait for it to arrive before you deal with it, because it's already, the seed bed is already there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The seed bank is there. This water hemp makes 300 to 500,000 seeds per escaped weed. You'll be dealing that for years down the road. And so the more you can control, I'm even a big advocate of, if you see 50 of them sticking up out there in a 40-acre bean field, go pull them before they make seed.
Yeah.
That's 300 to 500,000 seeds per plant you won't deal with in the future.
Right. You certainly don't want to run the combine through them, so don't even get close to that.
Absolutely
if
right. Absolutely.
By the way, with the dual planting now, especially if we can plant corn and beans, and especially at the pace we can plant, and the way we fight weeds in corn, which could contain dicamba as well. We have a lot.
Sure.
Do we have more and more to contend with that regard each year?
Yeah, certainly. I discuss that with guys. They say, well, back in the day, we sprayed Banville and we sprayed Marksman on our corn, and there was no issues. But we weren't planting soybeans.
Planted beans on Memorial Day.
Yeah, exactly. We weren't planting beans then. So certainly there's a concern there, and I think the Illinois EPA and others have done a great job with the label restrictions. We need to follow the label. We need to have the right nozzles. We need to watch the weather. There's good phone apps to help with that. Bottom line is, we have very high-yielding soybeans in that germplasm, and dicamba is a great herbicide for controlling water hemp. So that's why it's on the market.
We used to not have to talk about that nearly as much, but now Bayer Crop Science and the whole acquisitions that have taken place the last couple of years. So that's part of your advice now as a Bayer guy as well as a certified crop advisor.
Absolutely. It was my advice before, is to use, even before we owned it, was to use all the tools you have available to you for controlling weeds, and using multiple sites of action in a herbicide system. And certainly dicamba has proven itself over and over and over again for 40 years that is a very effective herbicide.
I think one of the things this year, I still remember this in 13, because there a lot of folks didn't get in until May in 13. The notion of, okay, just because it's a sunny day out doesn't mean you need to go out. And that's going to be harder and harder to, at some point you're just not going to be able to stop people, even if it remains wet on us this year.
Yeah, it gets really hard. Our patience gets challenged in the spring when there's all that work to do, and the later and later it gets. Especially today with social media, they can get on Twitter, they can get on Facebook, and they might believe that Iowa and Indiana are going and we can't in Illinois, and that's added pressure. Hopefully it's the reverse, that we're able to go in Illinois and they can't in Indiana or Iowa, but that's what we would wish for.
Since I have you in here as a Bayer guy, what are a couple of things that you're looking for just to see how they handle, say, new in your toolbox for this year?
Oh, certainly. As we look forward to our new company, I'm excited about our leadership. I'm excited about the portfolio of products that we can now bring the farmer from corn herbicides. We have 6 modes of action and 13 different herbicide brands. We have great technology on the soybean side. This will bring Bayer now bringing fungicides and insecticides to the Monsanto portfolio that they didn't have before. Our teams of people are getting to know each other in the field, and I think we're really off to a great start as a new company.
So if you have 13, hopefully you do have plans A, B, and C, in case you need them throughout the growing season.
We have many choices at Bayer now when it comes to herbicides. That's correct.
I want to ask you something. It seems like I'm asking this question every year, and it also goes with watching the calendar go by. And part of my concern is, especially as you go later in the year, I got a couple of concerns, but one of them now applies with the 2-hour window, before sunset. And just the notion of, okay, we have a lot to do here in a short period of time, which could mean faster speeds, more pressure on those nozzles, smaller droplets that can float farther.
Right.
It seems, to me, that seems like a concern, at least here in the studio. Is that a real thing to be watching?
I think it is, but you also have to realize that all of that is dictated in the label. The speed in which you can drive, the nozzles, the pressure, the height of the boom above the canopy, the gallonage of water, all that, and now certainly time of day, as you mentioned, that you can spray. So I think it's all manageable, all kind of built in, if you will, of how we're going to manage that, which I think the EPA has done a very good job with that. The question is will we have enough time to get across the acre? And that's we're staying within those guidelines. And all the people have been through the trainings. We all understand the challenges that we have in front of us. But there will be a lot to do, especially if we plant in a very short window.
Yeah. So if I get into the field at noon and I have a certain speed I can drive and I know how big this field is and I know I have to be done 2 hours before sunset, we have to take that into account.
Correct. And of course, with now and using monitors, they'll know if they have to quit before sunset, they know exactly where to come back in the field to start the applications the next day and things like that. So certainly that sort of field marking technology on the monitors will become absolutely critical.
Did you get all your continuing education units as a chair of CCAs for a couple of years?
I just started a new cycle January 1, and I already have about 20 hours in of the 40 I need for 2 years, so I'm well ahead of schedule. I think the Illinois CCA program has done a great job in having opportunities for our 1,200 plus CCAs to get their continuing education hours. We don't hear the comments like we used to in the past about not having enough opportunities to get hours. So I think we've kind of fixed that. We're continually looking at it. We're not ignoring it, but we're continually making sure that our people have enough opportunities to earn those.
Well, thanks for coming in, Eric. We'll talk to you down the road, I'm sure.
Thank you, DeLoss.
Eric Ift, Bear Crop Science. Appreciate visiting with him. Thinking ahead, well, hopefully not too far down the road for spring field work and planting. Arlen Suderman at FC Stone had a tweet saying data the past few days indicates Chinese hog feeding is down by more than 40%. The two biggest producing regions down 50%. He says in a tweet, this story gets worse on a daily basis. We'll talk pork in the U.S. and in Illinois with Jenny Jackson, Illinois pork producers, in just a second on RFD Today. Let's check livestock markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Packer Day Tuesday at Fairview Sale Barn, steady to $2 lower. Had some choice 2 to 4 steers from $129 to $132.75. Some high yielding up to $134. Low yielding with a top of $128. Mixed select and choice down to $123.5 to $127.5. Slaughtered cows high yielding premiums up to $119. And at the Illinois direct hog market, prices were steady yesterday, $46 to $56 a hundredweight, while the sow market moved higher once again, $1 to $3 higher. Lightweights from $35 to $45, heavyweights from $41 to $49. Light boars have been up $6 a pound this week, up to $28. And in the sow market, we've gained $8 to $9. This is the RFD Radio Network.
How do people benefit from raising livestock here in Illinois? Rich Giebert, Illinois farmer, president of the Illinois Farm Bureau.
Well, growing up on a livestock farm was always interesting, and I enjoy it more today than I did back then. But it did give me the opportunity to have a good work ethic, learn to get up in the morning. And you know, that was difficult during my senior days at high school and college days. I had a tendency not to go to bed at a respectable hour. But no, it was always enjoyable on the farm and getting up before daybreak and milking the cows and getting the chores done and then go about the rest of the day's business.
Illinois Farm Bureau, along with beef, corn, milk, pork, and soybean associations, make up the Livestock Development Group, supporting the Illinois livestock sector.
For more information, check out IllinoisLivestock.org.
40 years of horses, 40 years of legends. It's the Midwest Horse Fair.
Best horse fair in the nation right here.
This is fun for families because there's so many different aspects of horses that they can see.
And there's top-of-the-line clothing and apparel and boots and hats and ropes and trinkets and gifts. The shopping is off the charts here. I hope you guys are ready because it's going to get wild.
It's the great Midwest Horse Fair. April 12th through the 14th at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. Visit MidwestHorseFair.com for more.
All right, welcome back. RFD today on a Thursday. Jenny Jackson joins us over the phone now at Illinois Pork Producers Association, online at ilpork.com. Jenny, what's happening?
Well, we are gearing up for our annual D.C. fly-in next week. Some of our board members will be going up to D.C. to talk about important issues in the pork industry.
Well, hopefully a couple of things, like with the Farm Bill, for example. Like you used to talk about things like the Foot and Mouth Disease Bank. Is that one of those things that needs follow through as the Farm Bill gets implemented? Is that one of the items of discussion?
Yes, follow through is the key there. We are really excited that it's been implemented in the Farm Bill, and as long as everything goes through, fingers crossed we get that. The process, though, needs to start immediately, especially because of the worry of African swine fever and protecting our borders.
Protecting our borders, yeah, we've talked about that as well, and the Beagle Brigade, and it wasn't that long ago where there was a shipment and it was in Tide detergent containers and that sort of thing, where the U.S. had to make a huge stop on the border of infected pork. You see that sort of thing and think, wow, this is, it's really getting real. It's not just something that's overseas, but it is something that certainly has to be stopped before it makes its way in here.
Exactly. And in that Farm Bill funding, we are able to get 40 or 60 more Beagle Brigades on the calendar. The thing is, it takes a long process to get a Beagle, get them trained. It actually costs about $25,000 per dog. They also have to have a human with them who's training them and keeping track of them and housing in the airport. So even though it sounds awesome, it's going to be a long process to get them implemented. But we're really thankful that we can, because they are the best dogs out there to do the job.
We must have had something wrong with the phone. Did you say $25,000 per Beagle?
Yes, I just learned that in a meeting on Tuesday. Isn't that a crazy number?
It makes me want to get into the Beagle business.
I know.
Big D's Beagle Kennel, $25,000 a pop. That could add up pretty quickly. So, man,
it sure can. That's why we really needed some extra funding.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah, absolutely. But hey, if they're gonna get the job done on the border, then let's get the job done. What else is on the docket when you head to D.C.?
As usual, a labor shortage problem, and there's different ways that we can tackle it, but the one thing that they're going to talk about in D.C. is really ratifying the H-2A process, the visas, and making those seasonal workers more full-time workers, because we are in desperate need of more people in the barns.
Is it specifically from a producer's perspective, or is that also industry-wide? I mean, even packing plants and other parts of the food chain?
Definitely industry-wide. From our producer's perspective in Illinois, it's getting people in the barns, because that's what they see. But in the packing plants, some people can't even fill 2 shifts anymore, which trickles back to the producers having to keep their hogs longer in barns. Production slows down. So it does affect the entire industry as a whole.
Wow, if you can't do 2 shifts, you're not doing a Saturday kill in that case either, and so that's awfully hard. And there are a bunch of restrictions, so that means you're not able to move as much product as you are built to do. So yeah, you're losing money at that point.
Exactly, and with the increase in hopefully demand for pork, the increased production, if we get some trade things figured out, we're going to need full shifts at all of these packing plants to get the pork in our country and overseas.
So there was talk earlier in the week, and it's been talked about before with Mexico and the border, and what if we close the border? I assume a lot of corn and soybeans go via boat, but pigs would go via truck, I assume. And if you shut down the border, then the pigs don't make it across the border.
Yes, there are a lot of implications if the border is shut down. We are still trying to work out this USMCA deal. We're waiting for Congress to ratify it now. And then what it sounds like from the meetings I've been in this week, if U.S. removes their metal tariffs, then hopefully Canada and Mexico will ratify it and sign on. But if we still have that as a hindering effect on our country, then they aren't going to say yes.
All right. So next week, you guys will be in D.C.?
Yes, Wednesday and Thursday.
All right. Well, safe travels. And while I have a minute, if I may compliment you on just the greatest promotion, Illinois pork producers, and I've seen it on Facebook a couple of times where you took the March Madness bracket theme and put it into a pulled pork competition, pulled pork madness. Hopefully that was a big success.
Yes, it has been really fun. We'll be announcing that winner next week, so stay tuned for that. To be an awesome thing to continue every year. Maybe it won't be pulled pork. Maybe it'll be pork tenderloin.
There you go.
So we'll see.
In fact, today is the day of the voting deadline. So get on the Facebook page, go to Illinois Pork Producers Association, and there are 4 to choose from: Triple P, Paulie's, the Boar's Nest, and Farmer Smoked. One's in Rock Island, one's in Athens, one's in Princeton, and the other one's in Arthur. So good representation as well. That was a lot of fun. I think,
thanks for following along.
Well, you're welcome. I think a road trip is in store, don't you?
Yes, there are Sweet 16. We will announce those, and they're on the website. So if you want to make your own little pulled pork trail and visit all 16, that'd be a good idea.
That's a fantastic idea. Thanks, Jenny. Safe travels next week. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Jenny Jackson at Illinois Pork. I'm DeLoss Yankee saying watch your ends. We'll be back in studio again tomorrow.
More farm news and information ahead. Stay tuned for more RFD Today here on the Illinois Farm Bureau Radio Network.